Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Kutztown University Athletics Hall of Fame ceremony. My name is Steve Degler, class of 1988, and your MC for this morning's program. Today, we welcome 7 new members as the 39th annual Hall of Fame class. Our 7 honorees today include Stephen T. Dennis, the all-time leading scorer in men's basketball history. Steve Hahn, assistant basketball coach for 27 years. Kelley Healey Krater, a 4-time All-America field hockey player. Jeppesen Wyzykowski, a 4-time All-American with 8 women's swimming school records. McCardell, a 2-time All-Region Selection and Regional Pitcher of the Year. Mukundan Nandakumar, school record holder for victories and the first men's tennis player to be inducted into the KU Hall of Fame. And Joseph Scheks, a 2-time PSAC champion and 5-time All-PSAC selection in track and field. To begin our program this morning, I am pleased to introduce at this time Dr. Kenneth S. Hawkinson, President of Kutztown University.
Thanks so much, and good morning, and welcome back to Kutztown University. We're pleased to have this event in the historic Georgian Room for the 3rd year in a row. Old Main continues to be one of the more familiar settings for KU for our alumni. However, if you take a bit of time to explore, you'll notice several tremendous additions to the campus, especially for those of you who haven't been back in a while. Here on the south side of campus, you'll notice many changes, including recent renovations to the South Dining Hall, which now offers 24/7 all-you-can-eat dining. Now, how many in the audience actually had their meals right here in this room? All right, we've come a long way. 24/7. That's 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, students can eat. And we actually keep track of that. And the standing record is we have a student who eats 6.4 times a day. Probably a lineman on a football team, I would guess. If you go to the game today, I hope you do, you'll notice the brand new turf in the football and field hockey and marching band stadium, which was named for KU alumnus and Pro Football Hall of Famer Andre Reed in 2014. The old heating plant and stack that loomed over the stadium has recently been removed and replaced by the Golden Bear Plaza and numerous outdoor basketball courts. And we're currently renovating Rothermel Hall for the first time since it opened as a residence hall in 1961. On North Campus, you'll notice a renovated and expanded Schaefer Auditorium and Sheridan Art Building, the state-of-art academic forum, classroom building, and food court, and the renovated Cub Cafe dining area and full-service Starbucks in the Student Union building. Our older alumni will want to be sure to visit the Alumni Plaza across the street from Old Main. It features a beautiful waterfall, a flowing brook, a fountain, which operates seasonally. We just turned it off because of the leaves, and it has a scenic light display at night. It's really a beautiful, beautiful place on campus. Plans are in place to begin renovations on additional academic buildings, such as Lido, DFRAN. These renovations will begin in the near future. We also have a new university branding campaign, which celebrates the success we will experience today through our past and current student athletes. Quoting our brand anthem video, "It starts as a golden bear, but where you finish, that's untold. Because when the raw materials are put in the right hands, that's when you strike gold." We believe in warm welcomes and a strong work ethic. That character sets the foundation for success. Our student athletes and athletic teams embody our brand and continue to be a point of pride for our institution. They continue to excel on the playing venues and in the classroom. But only a select few Golden Bears get to experience this ultimate athletic honor granted by our institution to finish as KU Athletics Hall of Famers. So to our 7 inductees of the 39th annual induction class, Coach Hahn, Stephen, Kelley, Stephanie, Michael, Mukundan, and Joseph, this will certainly be a day to cherish and celebrate with friends, families, teammates, and coaches. I'm honored to celebrate it with you. And on behalf of Kutztown University, I congratulate you and thank you for all you have done for our athletic program and for our university. Thank you and enjoy the day.
Thank you, Dr. Hawkinson. At this time, we would like to introduce the Hall of Fame members that are here with us this morning. We ask that you please stand when your name is read. Brianne Barona, induction class of 2016 basketball. David Ben, induction class of 2014 basketball. Tony Didyoung, class of 1995 soccer. Steve Fitch, induction class of 2009 baseball. Bob Heller, induction class of 2003 cross country and track and field. Lee Hill, class of 1995 soccer. Mary Hill, class of 2016 field hockey. Locke Jennings, class of 2009 basketball. Melissa McQuaid, class of 2016 basketball. Bob Mushlitz, class of 2009 football. Peter Riffle, class of 1994 baseball. Bill Wiggins, class of 1978 football. And Sylvia Wolf, wife of the late Hall of Famer Dr. Bob Wolf, class of 1982 football. Welcome back to all of our Hall of Famers. Our first inductee this morning is Stephen T. Dennis. Stephen was the 2010 National Player of the Year, an All-American selection, and is the all-time leading scorer in KU men's basketball history. He scored 2,406 career points at KU, third in PSAC history, an average of 20.4 points per game. He was a four-time All-PSAC selection, graduated with 8 school records, and led KU to 3 PSAC East titles and 2 NCAA tournament appearances. A testimonial from his father, Major Cole Clazier, quoting here, "I would like to say to the faculty, students, and alumni, this has been a great honor that has been bestowed on me by our son, Stephen. This has been an unforgettable journey that has not ended, but is culminated here today with our son's induction into the Kutztown Hall of Fame. I would like to recognize my wife, Michelle, my mother-in-law, Cynthia, and Stephen's brothers, Tyrell and Isaiah, a KU alum, who have sacrificed and supported Stephen's career at a very young age. Thank you, my family. There is one special thanks that I would also like to give, and that's to Coach Bernie Driscoll and Coach Tom York. Thank you both for all that you have done. That is a story within itself. Stephen showed from a very young age the dedication, commitment, and basketball IQ it took to accomplish this amazing task. From the Westchester Community Center to Biddy Ball and AAU, Stephen was the spark plug that always energized the team. By the time Stephen became a freshman in high school, playing for the Henderson Warriors, he was well on his way to being a complete player, and we knew he had a good shot at furthering his education and playing college ball. His 4 years at Kutztown, seeing him on the court dribbling, driving, passing, scoring, dunking on opponents night after night, ascending to new heights, breaking records, hollering with the crowds, all to the raw emotion and intensity on his face, was nothing short of stellar. These memories of Stephen will be with us forever. So in closing, Stephen, my son, we thank you for this emotional journey, and we love you. To the people in our circle of life, let me say this, WAWG for life. Here to assist Dr. Hawkinson with the presentation of Stephen's induction this morning into the KU Athletics Hall of Fame is his father, Major. Let's welcome to the KU Athletics Hall of Fame, Stephen T. Dennis.
So much emotions. It feels like it felt 11 years ago when I first stepped on this campus. So much love from everybody, from the staff, from fellow athletes, teachers, my coaches, man. As soon as I stepped on here, everybody showed me love, so thank you. I might have to jot down, look at some of my notes so I'll make sure I don't mess up. First, I want to thank God because I normally wouldn't be here right now. I play basketball. I'm still continuing my career right now, playing basketball overseas. So I tore my ACL 6 months ago, so I wouldn't be able to be here right now if it wasn't for him. He had better things for me, and this is the best moment that I had so far in my life, so thank you. As an athlete, man, we work hard every day. We fight to prove ourselves that we should be here, that we should be playing, and there's no better honor for me to be a Hall of Famer. So congratulations to my fellow Hall of Famers. I was here with you guys. I got to experience your amazing talents and everything that you did. Coach Hahn, thank you, because I got to witness what you did and the impact you had on the girls, and I can only imagine the impact you had for the last 20 years. Mike, man, it's so amazing coming here and being in the class with you, because I looked up to you, especially being a Westchester native, and the impact you had on the baseball field was amazing, and I was motivated by you. So congratulations to all the fellow Hall of Famers. Thank you to Kutztown University, the selection board, for nominating me to be in the Hall of Fame. Thank you to Brian. You were so helpful throughout the whole process, keeping me informed and making sure all my friends and family could be here. Mr. Bamberg, man, thank you, man. I appreciate you. You were great to me my whole time here. Coach Driscoll and Coach York, you guys are father figures to me. You believed in me as soon as I stepped on campus here. I can't even see the notes. You showed me that you care for me. Your wife's opened up their arms for me. You put the ball in my hand, allowed me to play my game. When I needed anything, my mom could drop it off to you, Coach, and you would bring it to me. If I needed a ride home, you would come. Sorry, that's my daughter. When I needed a ride, maybe I can't say that. Sorry. Shot doctor, man. Always worked on my shot, man, and it's slowly improving every year. And I appreciate that. I still think I might have to come back to you now. But just once again, thank you for being father figures to me and allowing me to play my game and showcase my ability. Well, I know Coach Scheks isn't here, but Coach Scheks was very important to my last few years. He came in here and just helped put fire into me and Dave and other guys and Nate, because just already knowing him before he got here, he was somebody we looked up to just as an athlete. So when he came in here, he just brought that fire out of most of us. So thank you, Coach. My old heads, I don't know if they're here, but like Snugs, Coles, them guys showed us young guys the path from the beginning, and thank you. My roadies, Nate, Max, Kate, man, we did everything together, especially the first 2 years. If you see me, you see Nate, Max, like all the time. Julius, Ra-Ra, Dre, Dave. Listen, my man Dave back there, I love you, man. You put me under your wing, you showed me the way, shit, you fed me most days. He was cooking, yes, he was cooking. But man, I love you, man. And, I don't think I even looked at records until you started breaking them. So I thank you, man. You motivated me, you inspired me. Yeah, and I mean, honestly, I feel like we paved the way for the guys now, for what we was doing, and so thank you to Kutztown, man. I want to thank my family, my friends. Oh, yeah, look at it, we all here. I wouldn't be standing here if it wasn't for you guys, man. Thank you for loving me. Thank you for understanding me. Thank you for encouraging me. My motivation was driven by you. You make me proud. I'm glad, hopefully I'm standing here today and I made you all proud. My homies, we all we got, man. Listen, we live by that, man. It's been like that since birth. It's never gonna change. My mom, well, first of all, I want to say my uncles, my aunts, my cousins, all the friends and family. Thank you for just being there for us and being there for me, most importantly. I love you. My mama, she's a rider. She ain't missed nothing yet, and she ain't going to. Still look good. I love her. My brothers, my sisters, and my nieces, my nephews. I don't have a niece. I just got caught in the moment. My niece. but Isaiah and Tyrell, man, I learned how to love because of you guys. I learned how to care. I started to lead by example because of you. It has always been us three. And because of basketball, because of me, you guys had to put basketball as your life and put me first. So I just thank you for accepting it and allowing me to follow my dreams. Paige. Listen, I never cry. I ain't gonna cry. Ever. Paige, you came into my life, I think about 18 years ago, and you took me in as your own from the beginning. Me and my brothers and my family. You made sure that you supported me each and every way throughout my career. You fought for me to make sure I got noticed. You showed me how my mom should be loved. You showed me how a family should be taken care of. I love you, man. I call you Mage, but you're my father. My mom, you're the greatest. It's not just for what you do for me and my brothers, to be able to raise 3 young boys to respectful men, but it's more so about how you do it for everybody. You don't just do it for us, you do it for everybody. Starting to rock, but I love you. And my nan passed when I was a junior. I love you, man. To my beautiful lady Daisy, I wouldn't be here as a man today if it wasn't for you. You helped me get through the toughest battle of becoming a man. You keep me strong. You motivate me. You're so loving, so strong, so caring. I'm hard to deal with. Seriously. And I know it, but I gotta make it tough. But I love you so much, and sitting here today, and well, even for the last few weeks, just seeing how happy you were for me, and it's just amazing to have somebody that really cares about you that much. And you gave me my greatest gift, my beautiful daughter, Skylar. Hi, baby. And looking at you today, just want you to know I see my future, and I love you. So I want to ask you a question.
Let's see if the other 6 can top that. One more Hall of Famer with us to recognize. We apologize. Eddie McTagg for basketball. Eddie, please stand. Our second inductee this morning is Steve Hahn, assistant basketball coach from 1986 through 2013. Steve spent 27 years as an assistant coach for the Golden Bear basketball teams, 10 with the men's program and 17 with the women's program. He became the first full-time assistant coach in the athletic department in 1987 and helped lead the men's program to the PSAC finals and the school's first ever invitation to the NCAA Division II tournament. He joined the women's program in 1995 and helped lead the team to an NCAA tournament berth and a spot in the PSAC playoffs in 14 of his 17 seasons. He guided 10 Hall of Famers in his career, but continued to make his mark in the community outside of coaching. He volunteered for radio broadcasts for more than 10 years, helped negotiate the first collective bargaining agreement between the state system and the PSAC coaches, and established an endowed scholarship at KU. Steve has remained at KU after his coaching career, currently serving as the assistant to the athletic director for student development and compliance. We have testimonials from two of Steve's former players today. The first one is from Meredith Starr, class of 2011, quoting, "I was fortunate enough to play basketball under Coach Hahn from 2007 to 2011. I was thrilled when I got the message from him, excitedly telling me he was part of this year's Hall of Fame class, a well-deserved honor. It was no surprise when later that same evening, I was invited to a Facebook group of almost 50 of his former players celebrating his huge accomplishment, reminiscing about memories with Coach Hahn and marking their calendars to celebrate today with him. I am honored to be able to stand by his side as he is inducted into the Kutztown University Athletics Hall of Fame. Coach Hahn was everything you could ask for in a coach. He was passionate, compassionate, consistent, and fair. He expected us to give 100% and never gave less than 100% himself. He constantly pushed each player to be their best, both on the court and in the classroom. He understood both the game and his athletes, and he knew how to teach both. Coach's knowledge and influence exceeded just basketball. He taught us important life lessons, that slow driving still gets you to your destination. Respectable athletes never show up to the gym in flip-flops, and it's not that important to be up to date on current technology. Most importantly, Coach always reminded us to be a good teammate, whether it was taking our team out to dinner at Snuzzles, secret trips to Taco Bell on the way back from scrimmages, or making Saturday morning practices more bearable by bringing the team bagels. Coach Hahn treated us like his children and made Kutztown University feel like home. Coach Hahn has a positive impact on everybody who comes into his life. He is one of the most well-liked and well-respected coaches I have ever had. I am extremely grateful that I had the privilege of playing under him and learning from him for 4 years, and I am lucky to continue my friendship with him today. I know I speak for all of his former players when I say thank you for everything you have done for us individually, for our teams, and for Kutztown University. Congratulations, Coach Hahn. No one deserves this more than you," end quote. Our second testimonial is from former player and KU Hall of Famer, Melissa McQuaid. "When I think of Coach Hahn, I can't help but think about two things: team trips to Snuzzles and his individual workouts. Every few weeks, Coach Hahn would take the whole team to Snuzzles and Lions, where we would feast on strombolis, pizzas, and sandwiches. It would usually be during a time period where we were getting run down with the monotony of practices and games, living off of South Dining Hall cafeteria food. He would sit in the middle of us all, and we would talk and laugh about different things going on in our lives. One thing was true: we never ended up talking about basketball practices, games, or our team. It was always about other aspects of our life. The other memory I will always have of Coach Hahn is his individual workouts. After my first one, I was definitely a little intimidated by him. With one or two other players, we were expected to go through shooting and dribbling drills for 1 hour twice a week. You might say to yourself, how hard could that really be? It's only an hour. But it was very demanding and exhausting. We were expected to make each shot in a certain amount of time, make moves without fault or hesitation, and if we made a mistake, we had to do it again. Everything had to be detailed and precise. As the years went by and we were held to even higher standards at individual workouts, I started to realize how much we were growing as players. He demanded nothing but excellence during that 1 hour period. Although these two memories are different, they represent who Coach Hahn is as a person and who he was as a coach. Legendary UCLA coach John Wooden once said, quote, what you are as a person is far more important than what you are as a basketball player, end quote. Coach Hahn always made sure that we knew that academics and family came first. There was life outside of basketball, and that is what mattered the most. He was interested in all of his players' lives, always asked first about how you were doing and how your family was, and how your classes were going. You could talk to him about anything. When it came to basketball, he pushed every player to be the best that they could be. He knew all of our strengths and weaknesses because he is one of the most brilliant basketball minds that I am sure all of his former players can attest to. He saw things on the court that no one else did. He could tell you every little detail about players on the other team and exactly how to play them. He always pulled you aside and said he believed in you and that you could do it. He had high expectations for every player, an emphasis for hard work, and a demand for excellence. Coach Hahn is one of those very special people that had a positive impact on all of his players' lives. He helped make the men's and women's programs what they are today, and he can never be replaced. By the number of former players that have shown up today in support of Coach Hahn, it shows how many young men and women he had an impact on throughout his time at Kutztown. His dedication to this university, community, and to the PSAC is something to be admired, and I am lucky to have played for him. Here to assist Dr. Hawkinson with the presentation of Steve's induction this morning into the KU Athletics Hall of Fame are two of his former players, Meredith Starr and Melissa McQuaid. Let's welcome into the KU Athletics Hall of Fame, Steve Hahn.
And I mean this in the most complimentary manner. I was lucky. My father knew nothing about athletics. So in my growing up stages, I never had to endure a massive critique of what happened during the course of whatever game he came to see. And he did not miss very many home basketball games that I played in growing up. My father was he was a musician. He was the president of the Penn State Marching Blue Band. Quite an honor. The problem with that is that him being a musician translated into 5 years of piano lessons for me. But luckily sports came around and I had to start going to practice. So that eliminated the piano lessons. So sports was important. I would have played any sport, it wouldn't matter what it was. But early on, there was no travel teams or anything like that when I was growing up. So it was important, it became increasingly important, and you internalized that about how important a coach was for your development into the sports arena. And I was lucky. I had very good coaching when I was growing up. In junior high school, my basketball coach was Paul Cooter Jones, who is more well known as a professional baseball player and former king of Baseball Town with the Reading Phils, and but still was a very good basketball coach. Then in high school, I had Jim Gano, who's a legend in Berks County, a Berks County Hall of Famer himself, and certainly a strict taskmaster. There was an article in the Reading paper about a week ago where his workouts with his initial teams in high school were described as Navy SEAL workouts, and that was probably a pretty good description. In college, I played for Dr. Will Rankin at Albright College, who coached there, was the head coach for 33 years. So they don't let people stay in coaching positions for that long if you don't know what you're doing. All of those coaches have some type of influence on your future. And what I've learned, again, internalizing kind of subtly what they were trying to make me do is, and it really is the basis of my coaching philosophy even to this day, of which Melissa and Meredith so graciously described, and I really appreciate the effort that you guys put into doing that for me. I appreciate it. But the philosophy part of it is somebody has to show you what to do. Somebody has to show you what to do. secondly, you've got to be able to provide the tools for those players based on their natural talent in order to improve their skills. And third, which is probably maybe the most important, and I thought it was especially crucial at the college age players, players have to have some kind of validation. Somewhere along the line, if you're teaching them how to play the game properly and the big picture of things as to how to play basketball, if the players themselves are doing the grunt work that's necessary in order to improve their individual skills, well, if they're doing all of that and they don't have some type of validation in their little careers, then they're just going to stop listening and stop playing, and I didn't want that. That validation has to take place somewhere. That validation could take place at practice, or it could take place at games, but somewhere along the line it has to be validated. Before I just looked over there and saw Steve. I just want to interrupt my kind of train of thought here, and I don't even know if you remember this, Steve. And Steve himself is a Hall of Famer. He won't say it, but he's a Hall of Famer with the Reading Phillies. So I also broadcast a lot of football games with Steve, and we would take some long road trips out to the Western PA schools. One night he had a previous assignment. He picked me up rather late to go to broadcast the game the next Saturday afternoon. And when you're driving 3, 4, 5 hours, you solve every problem of the world. You talk about every athlete at the school. You talk about every team at the school. And somewhere along the line, on that trip, Steve just said to me, he said, "Coach Hahn, you'll be in the Hall of Fame." And I just kind of looked at him. I don't know if you even remember that conversation. But I thought it was, at the time, it seemed a little odd, and I didn't really think it would come to fruition, but here I am today. So Steve, thank you for being correct. Thank you for being correct. During my course here at Kutztown, I've worked for a lot of different coaches, and you pick up different things from different people. The first coach that I owe a lot of thanks to is Rick Binder, who was brought me up here with little or no, not little. I had no college coaching experience, no recruiting experience, and he brought me up here to coach with him. So I owe him a debt of gratitude for doing that, because him doing that has now allowed me to be in this setting today. That's unbelievable for me. And that was a lot of years ago. Coach Binder was one of those guys that he expected you to coach as hard as the players played, and if you didn't coach hard, they would not play hard for you. That's what I learned from him. In my early part of the career, I worked for Tom York, tremendous basketball coach, still coaching here today, doing a tremendous job. And one thing I noticed right away with working with Tom was, if you don't coach with enthusiasm, you're out the door, and the students and the players won't listen to you. So I learned that from him. I worked with Bill Whitney, who was probably the most organized basketball coach I've ever been around. I've also worked with Jeff Jones for 1 year. And that 1 year seemed like about 5. And Jeff is now back working at the university. So don't tell this story to him when you see him. But what I learned from Coach Jones was, there is never a compliment that you can give to anybody that big enough. There's never a compliment you can bestow upon anybody big enough, even if you have no idea who you're talking to. That's the way he operated. And he still does. And Dr. Zantz is saying that's exactly the same thing. But that was certainly an interesting 12 months. All right, and at the end of my career, I started working with Coach Driscoll, who's sitting back there with Coach York. And from both of those guys, now I'm at the end of my career here now, but I really noticed at that point how much attention to every detail that those guys did for their program. whether it be from a basketball program, whether it be from Coach York does a terrific job with the students' academic work, which I'm sure Steve would attest to that. With Coach York, he's right on top of all that stuff. And Coach Driscoll is just at the top of his game every day. And in regard to Coach Driscoll, he's done a lot of things for me personally in the last year or so. And I would just like to personally thank Coach Driscoll for taking care of me. I'll never be able to repay you for that. There are a lot of former players, male and female, here today, and I really, you can't put words into that kind of thing. Really appreciate you showing up here and supporting me today. It's an unbelievable showing of support, and I will never, ever forget that. Special thanks to Chuck Sonnen, who's here today. Chuck is the guy that has to put up with me when I drag him down to the Philadelphia Phillies games to watch the Astros. He's the guy that I take along. I appreciate you putting up with that stuff, Chuck. Also, Don Juan Cooper is here today. I first came in contact with Don Juan Cooper when he was a student in 9th grade, and I taught him at Southwest Junior High as a student when he's 14 years old. And he's sitting here today as a man. And I think over the period of time that I've become real good friends with him, he's probably showed me more about growing up to be a man than anyone else. And Coop, I can't thank you enough. Can't thank you enough. To move on to a little bit of a lighter note there, part of my job here was to, for 10 years I broadcast the football games as the color analysis and analyst for the football games on WEU radio. And I had the distinct pleasure of working with Josh Leboff, who's here today, and his cohort, my cohort, and the play-by-play man, Matt Santos, who's also here today. And I don't particularly know how I got that job. As a basketball guy, Matt said to me one day, "Come on, let's go. We're going to Slippery Rock to broadcast a football game." All right, I mean, get in the car and go. And during the 10 years that we did that with Josh and Matt, I can't tell you the laughs that we had. Some overnight stays and just the camaraderie back and forth with those two guys during my time period here at Kutztown has been unmatched. Also during that time, Matt was not the only play-by-play gentleman that I worked with. Worked with Steve Degler, right? Now Steve Degler is a professional radio broadcaster, and he used to teach me stuff about every 30 seconds about how to do what I was supposed to do in the correct manner. And also, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention him. I did a lot of home games here with him over the radio, and that's the late Mitch Gerhardt, another true professional in the area of broadcasting, and unfortunately he passed away relatively recently, and certainly missed the guy. He was a tremendous guy. And he just kind of let me go, and at the end of the quarter, he'd straighten me out at the end of the quarter. Steve just kind of said, "Hey, get in front of me and let's go." And I know you're not, when you do things like this, you're not supposed to single out any players. Heck with it, I'm doing it. There's two things stand out to me. Two games. One game. At Shippensburg University, they were in the midst, and this is a women's team now, they were in the midst of a 4 or 5 year run of winning the PSAC Women's Basketball Championship. They had a first team All-American center that scored over 2,000 points and over 1,500 rebounds, a big time stud of a player. And Ange Holland, Deemer now, who's here today, hit a 10-foot jump shot at the baseline with 8 seconds to go to actually put us ahead. I'm remiss about 1 point here. They were also the number 2 team in the country at the time, and we're on the road. So obviously a tough task. But Ange Holland hit the 10-foot jumper, and they still had a little bit of time to go, and Jen Koss blocked their All-American center shot with 2 seconds to go, and we get them out with a tremendous win. That stands out during my career here. The second one, doesn't surprise me at all that Melissa, Meredith were on the team. And believe it or not, this game ended up with a loss. But I had never been around a group of players, male or female, that competed as hard for as long and against such adversity. We played Gannon at the time. Gannon was 30-0. It's a playoff game, very late in the season. They were 30-0. They were the number 1 team in the country. And for those of you, Steve, you could attest to this, playing at Gannon is no picnic. And it's tough to win there, but Katie Dobie, don't think I'm going to forget you either. Dove's here. Viv Melvin, Chantrell Schroeder, commonly known as Canada, Rachel Weismiller, Katie Doty. Those girls competed every minute of the game. We cut the lead to 5 with 5 minutes to go. Couldn't quite win the game. You miss a couple of shots that you got to start fouling, and you end up losing the game. But I remember that as just being around a group of players that competed hard on not just every minute of the game, they competed hard on every dribble of the game. And I appreciate the efforts that those young women made for me. I've been talking here enough. As you get to coach for a while, I think you come to realize that it's more than just the X's and O's and helping and coaching the players. It's important for you to understand that you need to help these young men and young women. You got to help them. All right? So that probably about halfway through my coaching career, I realized that, you know what? I got to make sure that I'm making a difference in somebody's life at this campus at least one time a day. At least one time a day. I can continue to do that now in my little job that I have. And I think that's really important for anybody who gets into college coaching or even high school coaching. You gotta help them. Help them. I always thought that my biggest accomplishments well, it's funny. I always thought one of my biggest accomplishments would be when I was at the 1997 Kentucky Derby with Mike Chisholm, who was a football coach at this time at this school at one point, and I hit the exacta in the 1997 Kentucky Derby. I thought that was going to be a big accomplishment for me. Silver Charm and Captain Bodgett, look it up. But today, certainly, has surpassed that. I'm proud of the fact that I've coached college basketball in Berks County longer than any other college basketball coach other than Dr. Will Rankin at Albright College. I'm proud of the fact that I'm the first assistant coach in the PSAC among all the sister institutions that has inducted an assistant coach into their Hall of Fame. I'm very proud of that. I want to thank all the players who came and supported me today. This was totally unexpected when Mr. Bamberger came in and told me in my little office, and I've been overwhelmed today, humbled today, and believe me, I'll never forget this day. Thank you very much.
Our next inductee is Kelley Healey Krater, class of 2009. Kelley was a 4-time All-America and All-PSAC selection, including first-team honors her final 2 years. She graduated with a 3.94 GPA and was Academic All-America Second Team honoree and a two-time PSAC Top 10 Award winner as a biology major. She graduated second in program history with 161 career points and 61 career goals while holding the record with 39 career assists. Her testimonial is from her former head coach, Betty Wessner. The NCAA defines a student athlete as a participant in an organized competitive sport sponsored by the educational institution in which they are enrolled. They go on to further say that in the collegiate model of sports, the young men and women competing on the field or court are students first, athletes second. Kelley, you have most definitely exemplified this standard to the highest, not only for the NCAA, but for Kutztown University athletics, and most importantly, the field hockey team. Kelley chose to come to KU because of our team's success both in the classroom and on the playing field. Our team's coaching philosophy of a student first, our outstanding biology program, thank you, Dr. Zayats, and the desire to once again compete with her older sister, Colleen. A standout pre-med major receiving the Joshua Wentworth Memorial Biology Scholarship not once, but twice, graduating summa cum laude with a GPA of 3.94, and as I might add, in 8 semesters. She received KU's Chambliss Academic Achievement Award for her superiority in the classroom, was selected by the PSAC not once, but twice as a top 10 athlete, was a 4-time PSAC and Division II Scholar Athlete, and KU's Senior Scholar Athlete of the Year. And lastly, you have set high standards for your teammates, resulting in your team's QPA placing in the top 5 in the nation for Division II institutions all 4 years you competed. Dr. Kelley Krater, awarded a graduate fellowship, earning her PhD in microbiology and immunology from Drexel University's College of Medicine, lives with her husband Stephen, a KU swim team alum and public safety employee at Westchester University in Allentown, New Jersey. She is presently at Rutgers University as a recipient of the Arnold O. Beckman Postdoctoral Fellow, working on fungal multi-drug resistance. Additionally, she's an adjunct professor at Union County College. Steve and Jackie, you have done a superior job in parenting, not only with Kelley, but with your 3 other daughters, whom I additionally had the pleasure of mentoring. Colleen, married to husband Michael, mother to Kiara and Patrick, teaches kindergarten through 4th grade as a support teacher in the Barnegat Township District. Jackie, wife to Dr. Christopher Schmoyer, new mother to baby Charles, with her master's in clinical laboratory science, and Carrie, a program manager for AOL with a master's in digital and multimedia journalism. Cal, in my 33 years as head coach at this institution, you have been my #1 student athlete with what you have accomplished both on and off the playing field. I expect to see your name making history as the one who will find a cure for so many of our dreaded diseases. I could not be happier or prouder, and most of all, thankful that our paths have crossed, and I wish you much success in life, end quote. Here to assist Dr. Hawkinson with the presentation of Kelley's induction this morning into the KU Athletics Hall of Fame is her former head coach, Betty Wessner. Let's welcome Kelley Healey Krater.
First, I'd like to thank the induction committee for this unexpected honor. It is something that I'll always cherish. And to the athletic and communications staff, thank you for putting everything together for today. And I'd like to congratulate my fellow inductees, some of which I was able to see compete in person and even be coached by. I also played 2 years of basketball while I was here. And so I'm so very happy for Coach Hahn and his seeing his name on the list today. So I'd like to thank 5 groups of people who were instrumental in my success here at Kutztown as a student athlete. So I'll start with the student side. First, I'd like to thank my professors here at Kutztown. They really went out of their way with me to work with me concerning, my athletic practices when there were conflicts with classes or the long laboratory classes that the science majors here. You have to take these 3-hour lab courses several times a week. And one very smart recruiting move that Coach Wessner made when I came on my official visit here as a senior in high school was to introduce me to Dr. Zayats. And at the time, she was a microbiology professor within the biology department. She is now the VP of the entire university, deservedly so. And Dr. Zayats that day took me to the new science building. She talked to me about opportunities that I could have as a science major at the university. And that really put me at ease and helped me choose Kutztown for both the academics as well as the athletics. And my biology professors were my inspiration for my pursuit of a graduate degree, and also the teaching that I'm doing now. So thank you. The second group I'd like to thank are my friends from home, as well as those that I made here while at Kutztown. My high school coach, field hockey coach, Becky Miller, and my Toms River North teammates put me in the position to be recruited for college hockey. So I thank them for that. The friends I met here at Kutztown, both athletes and non-athletes, they're very supportive and kind people. Kutztown was a very inclusive and kind environment to go to college in, many of which I still consider friends to this day, so I thank you. Thirdly, I have to give a sincere thank you to my coaches here at Kutztown. The assistant coaches while I was here, Jody Sapola, Erin Livingston, Jen Denault, Beth Wheeler, really helped me hone in on my skills as a player. Particularly in my early years, Jody and Jen really helped me develop as an offensive player. And that brings me to Coach Betty Wessner. I could probably stand up here for the next half hour and talk about Coach Wessner. The thing that amazes me most about Coach is her strength as a person. And anyone who knows Coach and Coach's story would agree with that. And I have one quick short story about Coach Wessner and her influence on why I'm standing here today. This brings me back to about the second or third day of preseason camp before my freshman year. So this is August before my first year. We were beginning to scrimmage. I was playing with the first team as a midfielder. I felt pretty good. I was getting to know all the girls. You're struggling through the running and the heat and everything else. And then we started doing a few offensive drills. And these were called tip-in drills. So you have, your best hitters, the drivers, driving field hockey balls towards the cage at 50, 60 miles per hour. And it's the objective of the offensive player to try to get their stick on the ball and tip it into the cage. So I did okay at that. Next thing I know, Coach pulls me aside. I thought I did something wrong, but she pulls me aside and she says, "You know what, Kel? She always called me Kel. You know what, Kel, I think for the next scrimmage, we're gonna move you up to a forward position." And I said, "Oh, Coach, I've never played forward. Since I was in the 7th grade, I've been playing defensive back and midfield." She just said, "Go up there, let's see how it goes." I said, "Okay, well, let's see." So I moved up to forward, and for 4 years, I remained at that position, and I never moved back to midfield. So all of my success as an offensive player, and all the statistics and the awards and et cetera that came with that, that is a direct result of Coach Wessner's vision and pushing a player out of her comfort zone. So I truly thank you for that, as well as all of the other things that you've done for me and my family. So most players look forward to games. I also look forward to practices. And I think the reason for that boils down for my love of the game, my coaches, as well as my teammates. So fourth, I have to thank my college teammates, some of whom are here today. Field hockey is a true team sport, or it's difficult to stand out as an individual without good teammates. You have 11 girls on the field on the team, so if you have one outstanding person, they're not going to do much without the supporting cast. And we had a lot of great times, whether it was on the field, on the bus trips, off the field, of course. They were not only my teammates, but my roommates and my friends. And I have to especially thank the older girls who, when I came in as a freshman, welcomed me and supported me. They also taught me a lot about the college game and how to adapt to playing on the turf field. I've enjoyed seeing all of the amazing things that these women have accomplished in both their careers and their family lives since leaving Kutztown. So I truly thank you, all those girls that I played with and those that are here today. And I would be remiss if not to mention my sisters when talking about my teammates, which brings me to my final group to thank my family. I was lucky enough to have 3 of my sisters as teammates here at Kutztown. When I mentioned the older girls who were very supportive of me as a freshman, it started with my older sister, Colleen. She was playing her 4th year of eligibility as a graduate student when I was a freshman. As a young girl, I followed in Colleen's footsteps in playing hockey. We would train together in the summers. Even when I was in high school, she was here at Kutztown, but I was training just as if I was a college athlete. She really helped me adjust to college when I came here and helped me make the transition of playing on the team seamless. One of my younger sisters, Carrie, came to Kutztown after me, and she played both hockey and lacrosse. And my other younger sister, Jackie, transferred from Delaware the following year. So there was one year where we had 3 Healeys starting in the starting lineup, and somehow we all had sequential jersey numbers. So when they would announce the starting lineups, they would say, 12, Jackie Healey, 14, Kelley Healey, and 16, Carrie Healey, and the other teams would look at each other, like, what the heck is going on here? But I think we were all kind of homebodies in our own way, so having each other while at college was a big advantage and helped us. And we remain best friends to this day, and they and their families have traveled from near and far to be here for me today, so I thank them for that. I have to thank my sisters as well as my older brother, who instilled in me my competitive side, as only growing up with 4 siblings can do. A big thank you to my husband, Steve, who actually I met here while at Kutztown. He swam for the university, as Coach said, although we didn't meet until our junior year when we just happened to be in one of the same classes. And he's been nothing but supportive of me through graduate school and beyond, so thank you, Steve, for all of your love and support. And finally, I have to thank my parents, whose sacrifices enabled all of their children the opportunity to attend college. My parents were both teachers and coaches at one of the local high schools back home, and they've since worked tirelessly to build their own business after retiring from teaching. And this was even through Hurricane Sandy, where they unfortunately lost a lot of both their house and their business. But their strength is just amazing to me. They provided me and my siblings with a memorable and loving childhood and adolescence, and always encouraged us to do the right thing and to help others. I'd like to particularly dedicate my award to my mother, whose strength is undeniable. My mom was thrown into adulthood at the young age of 20 when both her parents passed away. She decided to continue her studies at a local college while she lived from home so she could care for her 3 teenage siblings. Against these odds, she became a successful art teacher, a wonderful mother, and even better person. And I hope when I have kids someday, I can be only half the mother she was to all of us. So I thank my parents, my mother, and my father most of all for their sacrifice and support over the years. And I thank you for all of your attention and a wonderful morning so far. Thank you.
Our next inductee is Jeppesen Wyzykowski, class of 2010. Jeppesen was a 4-time All-American for the women's swimming team and holds the most school record times with 8. She helped the KU women's swimming team enjoy its best season in school history in 2010 as KU won a school record 15 meets, finished 4th at the PSACs and 16th at nationals. She was a 3-time PSAC champion and went on to finish as the national runner-up in 2010 in the 200 breast, setting KU and PSAC records. Her achievements earned her the first KU female athlete Her achievements earned her the KU Female Athlete and Senior Athlete of the Year. I apologize. A testimonial from her former coach, Tim Flannery. Steph Jeppesen is by far the most versatile swimmer to ever pass through the friendly confines of the Keystone Hall Natatorium. She had many great races in her time as a Golden Bear, but my favorite race of Steph's was her very first big final at an NCAA championship in Houston, Texas in March of 2009. Steph was a creature of habit, and I found that out at breakfast the day before the meet started. For some reason, the hotel wasn't serving oatmeal at breakfast, and Steph had to have oatmeal. It's what she eats every morning, and she had to have it. Panic ensued. She worked hard all year long, made it to the NCAA championships, and now we find out that oatmeal isn't a big thing for breakfast in Texas. Luckily, arrangements were made, and Steph's mom showed up that evening with a box of Quaker Oats. I don't know who was more relieved, Steph or me. I think it was me. The very next day, Steph, fueled by oatmeal, broke her school record and finished 11th in the consolation final of the 200 individual medley. She was in business. I kept telling myself, 2 more events to go, and she can make it back to the finals. She's got this. She had a day off before the 100 breaststroke. We stayed in the routine, breakfast, catch the bus over to the pool, swim a warm-up, a few sprints, and that's enough. We went back over in the evening for finals and did the same thing. Stay in routine and she'll swim well. It worked. That Friday, Steph competed in the 100 breast and made it back to the top 16 after prelims. That evening, Steph won the consolation final in school record time. How good is this? 2 swims, 2 honorable mention All-Americans, and 2 school records, plus KU on the scoreboard at the NCAA championship. 1 more event, 200 breaststroke. She's got this. Saturday morning prelims come, and the 200 breaststroke is on. Everyone on the last day of a 4-day meet is dead tired, and Steph was no exception. but she mustered enough strength to make it to 8th place to qualify for her very first big final at the NCAA championships. I'm excited until I saw Steph after her swim. Steph exclaims, "I feel like blank," and had a look of distress on her face. All I could say was this: so does everybody else. You're in the big final. You fight as hard as you can, use everything left in the tank, leave nothing on the table. I don't know if that eased her mind or ticked her off. I think the latter. Saturday finals come and Steph is racing at 7:30 p.m. This was an NCAA Sport Festival year and KU Wrestling was in the same building. Coach Rob Fisher walked onto the pool deck to wish me luck and to find out what time Steph was swimming. He was promptly asked to leave the deck by an official from the NCAA. KU wrestler Joe Kemmerer was going for an NCAA title that night at 6:30 p.m. I went over and watched Joe win an exciting 2-1 match. KU had a national champion. I was excited for him and Coach Fisher. Now it was Steph's turn to go for it. Promptly at 7:30 p.m., Steph paraded out of the ready room with the 7 other finalists. Just at that moment, Coach Fisher, along with 2 of his assistant coaches, snuck back onto the pool deck and were right behind me as Steph paraded by. I was happy they were there. It gets lonely when you're a single swimmer. She needed a few more fans besides mom and dad in the stands, and KU Wrestling was more than happy to be there. The race went off, and Steph fought hard. At the 100 mark, she began to separate from the pack with 4 swimmers. At the 150 mark, it was down to 3 swimmers, with the eventual winner out in front, with Steph in a fight for second. Coach Fisher was jumping up and down behind me. "Oh man, this is exciting," I heard him yell. Steph finished. She moved from 8th place all the way to 2nd, but she didn't know it. She couldn't see the scoreboard to her right. There was a mass of people in front of her blocking her view. She looked over at me but couldn't see that I was holding up 2 fingers. Finally, a space opened in front of her, and there it was, 2nd place. The look on her face was priceless and one that I will never forget. As a swim coach, it's these moments you live for, to see the excitement expressed in the faces of your athletes after a great performance. I've had many in my coaching career, but none better than that day on the pool deck at the University of Houston. Steph, congratulations on a job well done and in your induction to the KU Athletics Hall of Fame. Here to assist Dr. Hawkinson with the presentation of Stephanie's induction this morning into the KU Athletics Hall of Fame is her former coach, Tim Flannery. Let's welcome into the KU Athletics Hall of Fame, Stephanie Jeppesen Wyzykowski.
Wow. I still remember Coach's little description there to this day, and I still watch it every once in a while as well. First of all, I'd like to thank the KU Athletic Alumni Association for putting together this event. I'm extremely honored to be here today, and I'm so grateful that I was chosen to be inducted into the Hall of Fame. When I was first recruited to attend Kutztown University, I felt beyond privileged and have received a scholarship and also represent such a fine school. My parents and I came to visit, and I immediately fell in love with this quaint little town because it reminded me of the town I was born in Denmark. Plus, I think my parents approved because it was a short commute back to home of only 30 minutes. As elated as I was to represent Kutztown, I was also very, very nervous to live up to the expectations and do well for my team in school. I remember one day after a swim meet my freshman year, I approached Coach in his office and told him I didn't think I could represent Kutztown as well as he thought, and I couldn't swim any faster than I was at the time. He looked at me like I was crazy and said, "Relax, you'll do just fine." And sure enough, the next few years, I was able to swim faster, break records, and help give Coach his best record ever. I could not have done this without that gentle push from Coach, and we still joke about it to this day. Thank you, Coach, for pushing me to do better than I ever thought I could, and also for putting up with 20 crazy swim girls my senior year. Our antics, our drama, complaining about a tough practice, which wasn't very tough at all, listening to Lady Gaga on repeat in Florida, and just being an overall trooper. So thank you.
That's why I have no hair.
Yeah. Some of the highlights from swimming at Kutztown include our annual trips to Fort Lauderdale every winter, going to Alaska my senior year during Halloween, beating them so bad that they never asked us to come back, posting a 15-1 record, best ever, and KU finishing at 4th at PSACs. Our two trips to NCAAs my junior year alone in Houston, and also my senior year with 5 of my teammates in Canton, Ohio. I'd also like to thank my husband and my mother-in-law and father-in-law who are here today. Although they were not around during my competitive days of swimming, they have always been such a continual support in my swimming and post-swimming as well as triathlon activities these past 6 years. Whether I was out cycling with my father-in-law, receiving a good luck text from my mother-in-law the day before a race, or my husband cheering me on the sidelines in all 20 of my triathlons that I've competed in, thank you so much for everything that you guys do. I would also like to thank my sister Cecilia and her husband Joe for their continual support while swimming through high school and college. They both attended many of their home meets at KU. Cecilia made a few trips to Mechanicsburg for PSACs, and she even surprised me in Houston during NCAAs when I was there alone. Finally, I would like to thank my parents, Ann and Paul. Unfortunately, they are not here today. They're on vacation in Colombia, which they had planned many years ago and they couldn't get out of, but I know they're here in spirit. My parents never missed a swim meet, whether it was home or away, even as far as Shippensburg. My parents were not the typical swim parents. They were up early, drove to swim meets, stayed over at hotels, stood outside in the ice cold, waiting in line to get into the pool for good seats at PSACs and NCAAs. My dad always had the video camera ready, and my mom was sometimes more nervous for my events than I was, constantly running to the bathroom. They could always be counted on for attending every single meet and being there and cheering for me. I always enjoyed looking up in the stands and seeing them and seeing how excited they were just for me swimming, and they were just there to watch. My dad always had the video camera ready, and I still watched all this great swim footage that he gave me over the years. I could not have done what I did at swimming at Kutztown and achieved success while trying out for the Olympics without them. So thank you so much, Mom and Dad. So short and sweet, again, thank you guys for this amazing honor being inducted into the Hall of Fame. Today is a great day that I will never forget, and I am forever grateful for. Thank you.
Our next inductee is Michael McCardell. Michael was a first baseman and right-handed pitcher for KU from 2004 to 2007 and was a two-time All-Region and All-PSAC selection. He was named the Regional Pitcher of the Year and a Golden Glove pitcher as a senior and was the 2006 PSAC East Pitcher of the Year. He closed his career with a 2.82 earned run average, second lowest in school history upon his graduation. He still holds school records for saves and graduated third in strikeouts, fourth in innings pitched, and fifth in wins. Michael was drafted in the 6th round of the 2007 Major League Baseball draft by the Minnesota Twins and made his professional debut that summer. Chris Bloom, his former coach, said, "I still remember down in Georgia, it all started with one sentence. Coach, if you need someone to close the game today, I'm ready." And with that sentence, a prolific, dominating pitching career took off like a rocket ship. Mac came into this program as one of my first recruits as a head coach. He was a two-way player for all 4 years of his career. A great athlete once used the phrase, "To be the man, you got to beat the man." Michael came here as an 18-year-old boy and quickly became the man during his playing days here at KU. He was an integral part of bringing KU baseball to unprecedented heights in the conference and on a national level, the likes of which we may never see again. He was both a starter and reliever on the 2007 team that went 49-7 and ranked number 1 in the country. All of this is a testament to not only his work ethic, but a confident and competitive fire and drive that has been matched by very few players. I believe the greatest gift a player can give back to a program is to stay involved when you have graduated and moved on in your life. I get to see and talk to Mac 3 or 4 times a year, and he is still recommending players to come to KU and be a part of the Golden Bear baseball program that he helped create and foster. I will always cherish the memories of those teams during his 4 years, the long talks with Mom, Pop, and Aunt Susan, and knowing when it was time for Mac to take the mound, I could put another W in the win column. And now, I get the pleasure of putting another check into the Hall of Fame column. Here to assist Dr. Hawkinson with the presentation of Michael's induction this morning into the KU Athletics Hall of Fame is his former coach, Chris Bloom. Let's welcome into the KU Athletic Hall of Fame, Michael McCardell.
Thanks for those nice lies, Skip. By the way, the email said 5 to 7 minutes per speech, so Stephen, I guess I got to shorten up a little bit. I'd like to say thank you, obviously, to Kutztown for putting this on and selecting me to the selection committee and all your support throughout the years. Coach Bamberger, for all your support since you've been here. He actually drove me to West Virginia for regionals one year. Literally, drove me. Thank you to Jack. Where's Jack at? Did he leave? Taking care of me all those years, in and out of the training room when I was allowed. If you curse in the training room, you're kicked out, as I'm sure many people know. So I wasn't in there long. Thank you to all the alumni that I've had the pleasure of meeting through baseball. A couple are here, Steve Fitch, Ryan Vogelsong, Woolard, all the guys that came before me, and their support while I was here and afterwards. Fitch actually caught my bullpens all throughout the winter, so I appreciate all that. Congratulations to my fellow inductees. It's an honor to go in with you guys. It's an honor to join this Hall of Fame with all the great names that are on that list. I want to thank my parents and Aunt Pam. It's Aunt Pam. Susan is my mom. Nice job. I can't tell you how many times my mom and dad missed a game throughout my entire career, maybe 5. So from Barton, North Carolina, to Georgia, to Virginia, to Alabama, to Florida, all over the place. Thank you, Mom and Dad, for your support, and Aunt Pam for always tagging along, and all the tailgates. I'm sure my teammates remember the tailgates and the parties thereafter. When I was recruited to Kutztown, I didn't have many options coming out of high school. It was either Westchester or Kutztown, and my dad drove me up, and we met Coach Bloom in his whitewashed jeans, which are now called his recruiting jeans. And he took us on a tour, and it seemed like a better place. And like I said, I'm from Westchester, so I just didn't want to go to Westchester. So I chose Kutztown, and looking back at it was by far the best fit for me, and it helped me allow me to grow as both an athlete and a person. And there's not a better fit for me with all the college stuff I do now, meeting different coaches than Coach Bloom and this place. Without it, I never would have continued on playing, and I'm very grateful for all of that. Coach Bloom was the perfect coach for us and our group. He allowed us to play, which was probably good and bad, but he allowed us to all grow, and my teammates and I grew together. Many of them are here in the back, which have supported me throughout it, and have changed me from what my friends called me in the beginning, a skinny fat kid, to where I am today. And the support from them has been unbelievable. I'd like to thank my wife, who supported me throughout my last years here at Kutztown, and the years after, and the long-distance relationship while I was still playing. And I can't thank my teammates enough throughout everything. What didn't get mentioned enough was how good we were. And I feel like I'm up here because of them, because the 4-year run that he mentioned, I think somebody just had to go in, and I'm just the lucky guy that got to be up here. Over 4 years, we went 100, 69, and 53, which is by far the best 4 years Kutztown baseball ever had. 58 and 20 in the PSAC, including 19 and 1 my senior year. Like he said, we were #1 in the nation my senior year. 2 PSAC titles, 2 regional titles, 2 World Series appearances, and I ended up playing with 8 other guys that played professionally within 4 years, which is a true testament to Coach Bloom and the development of the program. So I'd just like to say thank you to everybody. Thank you for all coming out and supporting all of the inductees, and thanks for everything.
Our next inductee is Mukundan Nandakumar, class of 2005. Mukundan becomes the first men's tennis player to be inducted into the KU Athletics Hall of Fame. He is the school record holder with 141 career victories, as he primarily played his matches at #1 singles and #1 doubles. He won 78 career doubles matches, for the most all-time at KU in men's tennis, and his 63 career singles victories are 4th in school history. He was named the PSAC Player of the Year and the ITA Senior Athlete of the Year, won the PSAC Singles and Doubles Championships, and led KU to 3 PSAC Championships and 4 NCAA Regional Championships. A testimonial from his former coach, Suresh Ramamurthy. Congratulations, Mukundan, on receiving this well-deserved honor, an induction into the Kutztown Athletics Hall of Fame. Congratulations and best wishes on behalf of all of our former players, family, and friends on being the first from the men's tennis team to receive this award, and thank you for giving me the honor of introducing you into this select group of Hall of Famers. Mukundan was a highly accomplished junior player in India and was recruited sight unseen by me in 2001. I am sure Mukundan was equally intrigued about choosing Kutztown. Mukundan made an immediate impact on the team by reaching the finals of the ITA regional tournament. We had a new solid #1 on the team, and he continued in that role for 4 straight years in both singles and doubles. Mukundan and his doubles partner Alok were the first doubles team at KU to win the ITA regionals, and they won 2 in a row. They were the first to be ranked in the top 10 in the Division II national rankings and to establish themselves as one of the best in the region and the conference. Mukundan kept working hard and was a true team member with contributions on and off the courts. Like many relationships, ours had defining moments. Even though we did not see eye to eye on occasions, true to his positive attitude and spirit, Mukundan was respectful and always proved himself on the court to bring out his best. Mukundan was a great friend to team members and always focused on their positives. He made many friends, and even though I don't understand some of his social activities, I always had a lot of respect for his sacrifices and work ethic. He must be most grateful to me for recruiting to the women's team his awesome wife, Jarna. There are a lot of funny and serious stories I can tell you about these two. I will stick to the most important. I received a surprise coach message in 2012 that Jarna and Mukundan were getting married. They now have a most adorable and loving daughter, Arya, who is definitely a perfect blend of their unique personalities. I am most humbled that they have included me in their lives and am forever grateful to them. Mukundan definitely helped put KU tennis on the world map. With his addition, the team accomplished tremendous results and national team rankings. I am extremely fortunate he chose Kutztown and truly represented the program with definitive successes individually and as a team player. He is, and will always be a humble and soft-spoken person who will be an inspiration to many others. I am not able to be at the presentation today, but wish Mukundan, Jarna, and Arya my love and affection. Enjoy this beautiful occasion. I also want to congratulate all the 2017 inductees, and a special congratulations to my good friend, Steve Hahn. Great job, Mukundan. Always proud of all your accomplishments. Best wishes always, with love and affection, Coach. And here to assist Dr. Hawkinson with the presentation of Mukundan's induction this morning into the KU Athletics Hall of Fame is his wife, Jarna Nancy. Let's welcome Mukundan Nandakumar into the KU Athletics Hall of Fame.
Right, thank you, Steve, for the introduction, and thank you, Coach, for the testimonial. John and Arya, thank you for being here today, supporting me. I'd like to congratulate all the other inductees, and thank you to the Hall of Fame committee for inducting me. Special congratulations to Steve and Coach Hahn, some great coaching advice there in your speech. My journey with tennis started when I was a little over 5. Cricket is the biggest sport in my country, but my parents somehow decided me to play tennis. What started as a weekend activity quickly turned into 6 days a week and 2 a day on the weekends with workout sessions. I'd like to thank my parents for the numerous sacrifices and the countless hours they spent in supporting me and putting up with me. Now that I'm a parent who gets humbled by my daughter on a daily basis, I'm beginning to understand. After playing competitively for many years as a junior, my tennis journey led me to Kutztown. Coach Ramamurthy, thank you for giving me an opportunity to play for KU. I would like to also thank Coach Yulia, the assistant coach in my first 2 years. Tennis is an extremely individual sport. We always produce the most high-maintenance athletes who always get all the attention, and I was no exception to the rule. So thank you both for the valuable coaching throughout my college career and keeping me in line by introducing me to a whole new concept of getting benched as a team member. It worked wonders with my attitude the whole time. Coach Ramamurthy, in a way, was my first boss. He ran a tight shift at practices, constantly reminding me there is no I in team, mentoring me and preparing me for the real world after college. Thank you. To my teammates of 4 years, without you guys, none of this would have been possible. 5 a.m. practice in the middle of winter, weight room sessions at Risley, competitive practice matches for team positions. It was truly great how we pushed each other for the sake of the team. Every team has loud locker rooms. In our team, we had the loudest van rides. I'll never forget the 2004 PSAC final against Bloomsburg when we all got into the van in the last minute just before lineup. Turned the volume into full and listened to Al Pacino from Any Given Sunday. By the time the speech was done, I think we already won that duel before it even started. Thank you guys for the greatest memories both on and off the court. Thank you all. Go KU.
Our final inductee this morning is Joseph Scheks, class of 1965. Joseph was a two-time PSAC champion in the triple jump, including the PSAC's first ever champion in the event in 1963. He was a five-time All-PSAC selection and was KU's top athlete as the team's lone point scorer at the conference championships. At graduation, he held 6 individual school records and was part of 3 different relay records. His testimonial is from his granddaughter and KU student, Adrian Wolf. Quoting, "Joseph Scheks is my grandfather, who I call Poppity. Poppity was on the track and field team at Saucon Valley High School, where he broke and still holds the long jump record. In college, he continued to prove his strength and agility. From 1962 to 1965, he broke more records and reclaimed his PSAC triple jump champion title over and over again. He was the first conference champion for Kutztown in 30 years in any sport. I am so honored to be here today for his induction into Kutztown University's Hall of Fame. Joseph got married to Judith Scheks and had 4 children. Now I am one of his 8 grandchildren. Growing up with Poppity was always fun. Not only was he a star athlete, but he was always a good sport when putting up with our silly games. I still love hearing his stories about when he attended Kutztown. Poppity is a great role model for my siblings, cousin, and for myself. He has always shown his love and support for all of the activities we participated in growing up, and now it's time for us to show him our supports. Poppity, you are one of the most inspirational people I have ever had the privilege to know. We are all so proud of you, and we love you so much. Congratulations on this huge accomplishment," end quote. Here to assist Dr. Hawkinson with the presentation of Joseph's induction this morning into the KU Athletics Hall of Fame is his granddaughter, Adrian. Let's welcome into the KU Athletics Hall of Fame, Joseph Scheks.
Well, we're from Kutztown and couldn't be prouder. We're so proud we'll yell a little louder. Sorry about that, but I had embarrassed my grandkids a little bit because I had to wake them up. Well, I'm the last one up here, and that's not a good thing in track and field. Acceptance speech. Of course I accept this great honor. Good morning, everybody, and congratulations to the other inductees. And a lot of thank yous. Thank you to Alex and Cheryl from the Alumni Foundation for all the communication and the organization of this event. To the Hall of Fame Selection Committee, I met some of them here today. And some of the people I met here today were there when I was there, and I didn't think anybody lived anymore. I was here so long ago that I think I recognized some of the people in the back row in that painting. I also thank my whole family, my sisters, my brother-in-law, my wife, of course, my kids and their spouses, and of course the grandkids. There's one missing. She just recently got a job in Pensacola, Florida, and could not be here, but she's here by heart. Okay, then I have a special thanks to St. Peter and St. Paul. I'm not that religious, but I believe this is, for me to be here, this is a kind of a miracle. So many things had to come together for me to be here after more than a half a century. For me to be here, somebody else had to be there. Somebody had to remember me. Somebody had to find my athleticism relevant. somebody had to become a recent member of the selection committee and make a case for my induction and finally get it done. And here I am. The people I'm talking about are Peter and Paul Riffle. They were the ones that called me last May and gave me the great news. For a long while, I thought it was a prank call, but it wasn't. Paul mentioned a moniker that one of the newspapers used when I was still an athlete here, and so at that time then I knew this is for real. Paul was his brother, is his brother. He doesn't live around here, he lives in Iowa, but he also called me on the same day. I don't know if they were together or not at that day, but they both called me that day to give me the good news. So thank you, Peter and Paul Riffle. By the way, Peter is in the Hall of Fame for baseball. They had won the state championship, and he also told me he struck out 19 guys in one game. That's incredible. Okay, the day after that phone call, like I said, it's a long time ago, I tried to do a little research about myself, because I hadn't done any in many years. So the first thing I tried to do is find my medals. Well, I thought I knew exactly where they were in my closet with all my sweaters, but they weren't. So I'm still looking. Even yesterday I was looking. I couldn't find my medals. What I did find was my yearbooks, and there wasn't much information in there, but it's a couple pretty good photographs of when we were young. And in one of the yearbooks there were some newspaper clippings from the Keystone newspaper. I don't know if that exists. At that time it existed. It came out about once, maybe twice a year, and not every year. So I had got some information from them, but I tried to Google some later years and couldn't find any. One of the things I did find in the yearbook was a photocopy. Now, I don't know how far back that goes because we didn't have photocopies when I was a student, so it had to happen later on. But that photocopy shows my medals. And there's a little discrepancy because they show 7 medals in the PSAC event. But the 2 of them that aren't listed in the Google list were 3rd place. That doesn't matter too much. I'd probably bitch if they were gold medals, but I'm not good. Okay, I want to give you a few snippets of my track and field story, much of which has never been written about or even discussed. My family and I emigrated from Austria when I was 9 years old. American sports were totally foreign to me. I mean, in Austria we played soccer and skied. In 5th grade, I remember we went out to recess one day from class, and after the bell rang for us to get back in, our playground was probably about a little more than 100 yards away from the door of the classroom. But the Zangley twins challenged me to race them to the north doorknob. So that was the first time I got a little athletic confidence. So thank you, Zangley twins. In 8th grade, I had a shop class, and one morning, our shop class teacher wasn't there, so we had a sub, and he wasn't allowed to have us use our machinery because of safety reasons, so he took us outside. And it was a beautiful morning. Took us outside, and right outside the shop, they had a huge sawdust pile. And of course, what do 8th graders do with a sawdust pile? We start jumping into it. Well, anyway, we started off from a standing jump, and then we accelerated into longer and longer runs into that pile. Well, somehow that substitute was impressed, and he told Mr. Scaboria, who was to become the track coach the following year, which would have been the inaugural year for Palisades track. Mr. Scaboria, I had him in 8th grade for social studies, so he knew me, but he started talking with me, and he got permission from my parents to take me around the suburbs of Philadelphia. This was from Palisades High School at the time, to compete I probably in junior high track meets as an extra. I don't know how that even worked. It wasn't anything special. It was just track meets. And I always won the long jump at those events, and he gave me blue ribbons. Now, I don't know if he made those blue ribbons or he bought them or something, but I had those blue ribbons in a box of medals that I can't find. In 9th grade was our inaugural year for track and field at Palisades. It was not we had 3 track meets. They weren't official, but they were still track meets. I was introduced to meets. I did win the 100-yard dash, the mile, and the broad jump in the first meet. The mile, and I think the only reason I won the mile is because most of my friends at that time had bikes and I didn't, so I had to run next to them. This long jumping also at that time helped me be popular because when we played softball, sandlot softball, we had a creek edging our field, and sometimes a foul ball would land on the other side of this creek, and rather for somebody to go all the way around the bridge to get that ball, I jumped from bank to bank, which I think was probably about 16 and a half, 17 feet, but nobody else tried that. So I was wild for something. In 10th grade, I had moved to what was Hellertown, Lower Saucon, which is Saucon Valley today. And then I was not eligible because it was in February and they had a 90-day rule where you couldn't compete in a new school district. So I wasn't eligible for track. In 11th and 12th grade, we had championship teams. We won the league championship and the district championship as juniors, and there was such a spread in first and second in the districts that our school voluntarily entered the 3A districts the following year, and we wound up in 3rd place that year and also won the leagues. As my granddaughter mentioned, I do still hold the long jump record, which is now 58 seasons old. I don't know why, but anyway, there's a wolf on the loose. And that's AJ, my grandson over here. And from what I hear, the Wolf on the Loose is a moniker used by newspapers and also the Big Ticket program on TV, describing my grandson as a quarterback at Saucon. He's doing everything, and one of the people on a TV station mentioned that this kid does everything, including selling hot dogs in the stands at halftime. But anyway, from what I hear, I'm not so sure it's true, but I'm going to mention it anyway. He's going to try for my record, and I'm going to help him every way I can. So here we are. That's my college athletic experience is already written about, and it's in that booklet. And so I'm not going to get into that, but I do kind of have a confession to make. Because as a young teacher, first-year teacher at Pleasant Valley School District, I began a track and field program. I never had that before, so we're starting from scratch. But one of the first things I did was, I got a meager budget, but with that budget, I got the necessities, but one of the things I got was 3 reels of film, which showed the then 3 best track and field athletes in each event in slow motion, so it was easily learned. So I learned from that, and I showed my students that, and then I was young enough to demonstrate some of this stuff to the kids. We start from scratch, and it didn't take long before they got pretty good. But anyway, these films gave me a huge revelation. And that revelation was that I did a lot of things in college, but something big was missing. And that something that was missing was the science of the sport. In other words, the techniques. I never had a coach. in high school or college. Everything I did was just natural. I tried it out, and if it worked, it worked. If it didn't, it didn't. But I never had a techniques coach. I'd get attaboys and you can do it, right, Vic? Yep. But never how you can do it. I don't know if it wasn't done then, but that can't be, because I did it only a couple years later when I bought those films. So the techniques were there, but I never had those experiences. And so I found that I really never reached my true potential in college, which is a bittersweet. But I'm here today. I have sheets of paper here. I saw somebody had a smartphone, and boy, I don't even know if they make legal pads anymore. In college, I don't want to mention much about that, but I do have to mention my very first track meet. It was at Shippensburg, and it was a bitter day. I just talked to a friend of mine who was on the team, Ralph Pritch, and he's the one that told me this. I couldn't remember that. But the very first track meet at Shippensburg was very bitter. It had rained the night before, and it was snowing when we were there. It was bitter cold. And for some reason, I didn't enter the 400, 440 in those days, yard dash, but somehow I found myself in the starting blocks, ready to go in the 440, and it was against the previous year's PSAC champ from Shippensburg. And we already had a good quarter miler. Perry Wicks was his name, and I have no idea if I entered myself or if my coach did, but I was put into it. So the gun went off, we took off, and I thought to myself, I'm going to sprint as hard as a 100-yard dash, as long as I could. Well, I don't remember much, but I did fall over the finish line first, unconscious. And my buddies dragged me up to the locker room, and they couldn't get me out of it. They used ammonia capsules, and one creative guy stuck 2 of them up my nostrils. So I do remember that, because I became worthless for the rest of the meet, because I had bad burns in my nose. But anyway, it turned out that we only won that one event against Shippensburg that year, and yet the following year we beat them. And that was the sophomore year, and I just read recently that was the first time ever that we had a winning season in track and field at Kutztown, ever. And yet if you Google, you'll find, going all the way back to 1928, there was a person that placed in the PSAC championship. So the track and field, I don't know when it started, but it goes back. Okay, I just want to mention those films again a little bit, because it's so important to me, because like I said, it was bittersweet. It was bitter that I couldn't do those things, because I didn't know how, in college or high school. But now it was sweet that I was able to improve a whole lot as a young coach. And that is amazing, because one of the things I look back as a young coach was, at my college track and field career, was I wasn't improving much. A little bit, from year to year, but after 4 years, I wasn't really improving much. And then if I was doing the wrong thing for 4 years, I'm not going to get improvement. That was the problem. And one of the things I'm going to bring, like the long jump, my technique was make the board explode and refuse to come down. Okay? But I never knew how to land. I would tuck my feet underneath my body and eventually come down. And I had the school record in college, and obviously that's what I did in high school too. So, but it wasn't really much of an improvement. I improved 9 inches from high school, but in track and field, in the long jump, that is pretty much, because the world record at that time was only about that much further. Okay. The film showed me how to land, how to stretch my legs out, change my center of gravity from the upper body so that I would not fall on my rear, and that's what it would measure from. It would measure from where I made a mark in the sawdust. And I learned how to stretch those legs, land, and I actually gained almost 3 feet in the long jump as a young coach. In the shot put, I learned how to glide and transfer my weight behind the shot put, and I went from about 42, 43 feet in college to 50 feet just by doing that. In the discus, I learned to use my legs like a flywheel, mechanical flywheel, to generate torque, and I improved a lot in the discus. And in the triple jump, it was pretty much like the long jump, jump and refuse to come down. But what I learned was that I had to sacrifice my hop, the first leg of the triple jump, sacrifice distance, because when I was in college, I would hop about 21 feet. But when you're hopping 21 feet, you had to go really high, and you came down. Now, how the heck are you going to go that way with a step? So I had a very short step, no more than about 5 feet. And that was ridiculous. And then I had about a 21-foot jump, or 18-foot jump after that. So I wound up around 45 feet. Well, now what I did was shorten my hop from 21 to 18 feet. I got a 12-foot step, and I got about a 21-foot jump. So I was up at 50 feet in the triple jump. But anyway, that didn't matter. Like I said, it's bittersweet. It didn't matter because I'm no longer a student. But it did help my athletes in high school a whole lot. There was one man, and he wasn't even related to Kutztown, who early saw me as a diamond in the rough. And this person believed that he could polish me. This person actually thought of the possibility of me going as far as the Olympic trials in the decathlon. Okay, Charlie Reese was his name. He was a head coach at that time of East Stroudsburg State College. East Stroudsburg at that time's primary major was phys ed, and that's where the science of technique would have come from to help me out. But it wasn't going anywhere. It past the discussion point. He tried to get me to transfer for 2 years, the first 2 years of being here, but I was an art student. Eastburg didn't have art. You can tell I was an art student. Also, if I followed him and get polished and go to Olympic trials, I'd have to be trained first, so I would have missed my spring of my junior year, because the year of the Olympics would have been the '64 Olympics, so I would have missed college in spring. And then at that time, a year earlier, my father had started a roofing business, and I was his right-hand man. He couldn't have done without me. Was another reason, and the third reason is if I would have made it to the Olympics, I would have missed the fall semester because the Olympics are in September. And lastly, I mentioned before that we immigrated from Austria, and in Europe, I think even today, sports and schools are not in the same category. Sports have nothing to do with schools. It's community-driven. So my father wasn't going to let me have school interfered with. So it wasn't going to happen. So anyway, thanks, Mr. Reese, for the trying. Okay, just for the heck of it, I'd like to mention the 1912 Olympic decathlon in Helsinki, Sweden. An American who became a great American hero later on won that, and his name was Jim Thorpe. And because of Google, the technology, I'm beyond my legal pads here, I Googled Jim Thorpe recently, and what I found really astounded me, because he won the decathlon. They did it in 3 days, and yet his statistics show me that he was no better than about the average to decent high school athlete of today. His times and distances weren't that great. I had him beat in 8 events, and 2 of them would have been about tie. So that was another man that was raw. But at that time, they didn't have any technique. There was no coach. to teach him technique. So that makes a big difference. But in my time there was, but I didn't have any. Okay, I did see on YouTube that he was pole vaulting into sawdust like we did. I don't know if he threw from concrete slabs in the discus and shot put. That's one of the areas that I got to mention where I did make one big change in one meet, and that was at Delaware Valley, because here at Kutztown we had a ring for the discus, and it was hinged in the middle so that you could fold it and you could carry it off and on the field, because you take it out and you just drop it on a football field. You made a V, and that's where you threw the discus from. Well, it was turf, of course, and a lot of times that was muddy if it had rained and stuff, so you did whatever you did for traction for the discus. But at Delaware Valley, they had a concrete slab. So at the end of my freshman year, and I think that's where one of the discrepancies is in those medals, at the end of my freshman year, I had the school record in the discus at 131 feet plus change. But at Delaware Valley, I took that record up to 149 feet 8 inches. That's a big deal, just because of concrete slab. So facilities do matter a whole lot. Well, in conclusion, I must express envy in today's facilities. You know, I wish I would have been able to run on one of these rubberized tracks. What a difference that would have felt like. Anyway, the facilities, including the great one that you have here at Kutztown, and I hope that all the athletes appreciate that. At this point, I'd like to look at my track and field story as bittersweet, as I said, but incredibly thankful to be standing up here today, being put on a list of the greatest athletic guys and gals in our Kutztown family tree. Thank you so profusely.
Thank you so much for attending. Great crowd here today. Really appreciate it. Now for our closing remarks, I would like to introduce the athletic director at Kutztown University, Greg Bamberger.
Thank you, Steve. Every year I sit here, and I am the one that does get the pleasure to call these individuals to announce that they do get to are being selected to be inducted into the Hall of Fame. And I remember our conversation, Steve, and I'll remember that for a long time. The thing that always comes to mind is, first of all, I want the inductees to stand. Steve, you don't have to. I know the inductees to stand for a minute. Turn around and just look at the back of the room back here. Just turn around for a minute. Okay, and just look at the number of people that come out here to support you today. I know you had the chance to be up here, but just to sit here and look at this group, it just tells you what our world of athletics does and how far it reaches. It's so good to see that the people that you asked to help induct you are your coaches. With a coaching background myself, it makes me feel good. That's the impact that we have on our student athletes and obviously the impact that athletics has on our world today. As Steve said, as you can probably hear from the music, our festivities of the day are getting ready to roll. There will be a 12 o'clock football game, which the inductees will be part of. The coin toss festivities before that's going to be here in about 55 minutes or so we'll have to move a little bit. There's also, please take the time to get down to Keystone Hall. The plaques and the Hall of Fame display is in the lobby of Keystone. The plaques are already in there, so please take the time to get down there. It will be a busy place today. Football will still be roaming around there up until kickoff. We do have a 1 o'clock volleyball match versus Westchester, also senior day for our football student athletes today. We have a 1 o'clock swim meet today, so there'll be some activity going on there. Then we will end the day in Keystone with an alumni basketball game. Stephen, I guess you're not going to be able to play, or maybe you are, I don't know. But I know we've got a number of other alums here that hopefully will get a chance to display their talents. And then we kick off our winter season, our home winter season tonight at least, with basketball tonight with a home men's basketball game versus Penn State Schuylkill. So it is that transition period for us at Kutztown, going from fall season to winter season, and as we know, Dr. Hawkinson, it never stops. So thank you very much for coming out and supporting these great student athletes. Have a great, great day.